Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank in advance the witnesses for sharing their insights with us here this morning. It's hard to overestimate, as you've indicated, the strategic importance of the Indo-Pacific. The region accounts for about a third of global economic activity, has huge growth potential. With over half of the world's population and a youthful population at that, the region is poised to become an engine of global economic growth over the coming decades. Moreover, the countries throughout the Indo-Pacific are hungry for trade with the US, with each other, and with the rest of the world. And the world is hungry for trade with them. A free and open Indo-Pacific is critical to the US's economic future, as many of our largest trading partners are in the region, and there's enormous potential to grow those ties. While the US has strengthened our trade pacts with South Korea and Japan and developed gold standard rules on digital trade through the USMCA, we cannot rest on our laurels. But that's exactly what we are doing as Beijing continues to pressure Indo-Pacific countries to trade their sovereignty for the Chinese Communist Party's so-called common destiny, while we fail to provide a clear option for these countries to turn to. Let me be blunt, Mr. Chairman, this administration has no meaningful agenda for economic statecraft in Asia right now. And I say that with great remorse, because we ought to be working together on this, and I know you and I are. This brings me to the topic of today's hearing, the digital economy, which is comprised of emerging tech like AI, advanced semiconductors, and 5G. It's critical to superpower status in geopolitical competition. And this 21st century economic engine runs on data, a resource with infinite supply. Sustained and enhanced U.S. leadership in digital trade and innovation benefits not only our economy and workforce, but our national security and economic well-being. That's why writing the rules around data and digital trade are so consequential. And fortunately, we have templates in the U.S.-Japan trade agreement and in USMCA that would provide an ideal starting point for a high-quality deal. That's why I was pleased to join you, Mr. Chairman, in leading a letter to USTR to ask that they move toward such a deal. From Zoom meetings to online shopping to the increasing use of big data and AI in manufacturing sectors, the digital economy will only grow in importance to U.S. economic success. All these factors make the timing so appealing for a digital trade agreement in the Indo-Pacific. The consequences of inaction on digital trade with the region could be dire, as data and the digital economy are a matter of the utmost importance to Xi Jinping. The CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, grasps the value of data and is using it to coerce and control its trade partners. Over many years, the CCP has passed laws, regulations, and standards that give it control over the data of its companies and citizens, while at the same time scouring the globe to funnel data back to China. While we think a lot about ports and national resources, unfortunately, we've been too much asleep at the wheel as the world's most valuable resource, data, pours into the PRC every single day. That needs to change. Mr. Chairman, it's time for us to get our heads in the game, and I agree with you that the best way to do this is to negotiate and conclude a digital trade agreement. While I do have to admit that a digital sector agreement is a poor substitute for being part of a more comprehensive regional agreement, it's an excellent place to start building U.S. economic ties with our partners throughout the region. Let me close with this. Across the Indo-Pacific countries, across the Indo-Pacific, countries are hungry for more trade with the U.S., and we can achieve major foreign policy wins by meeting that demand. For example, Taiwan wants a trade deal so much that they finally allowed U.S. pork imports after years of delay. But whether it's digital trade or Taiwan, the administration, unfortunately, has ignored the demand for real trade deals. Instead, they're poised to offer regional economic framework, which simply cannot meet the needs of the moment. Let's hope the president decides to negotiate something more substantial, or I'm afraid Americans will end up having to play by rules that were written in Beijing. And I yield back.